Hello. Do you have loud neighbors? Do you have loud neighbors with loud music? So do I. So today we strike back. Now I'm not proposing a chainsaw massacre, even though this is Texas and all options are on the table. But instead I'm going to show you how to safely and effectively use a chainsaw to get on your neighbor's nerves. But before we actually turn the chainsaw on, there are some basic considerations to take into account. First, we'll have to check the fluid levels to make sure that the saw will run properly. Second, we'll have to make sure that the chain is tight and safe. And third, we will heed some basic safety protocol to ensure that when we engage the saw, we're being safe and we'll be ready to create noise pollution, which is the just and right thing to do. Now, I'm going to have to manipulate the camera here so that you can see the things that I'm doing. Obviously, the saw is not going to work if the fluids are not right. So we'll begin with bar oil. Now this is there's nothing special about this stuff. You get bar and chain oil at any home improvement store. You don't have to use certain types of bar oil for certain types of chainsaws. I've even seen people use motor oil, and I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. This is obviously a gas can. I use a 1-gallon gas can on purpose because you have to mix it with 2-cycle, and 8 ounces of 2-cycle measures out to 1 gallon, so you don't have to spend time measuring it out or looking at the chart on the back. Obviously that's an option to you, but with this I can just pour the whole 8 ounces in there and I'll be ready to go. I actually ruined a brand new chainsaw once for putting fuel in it with no 2-cycle, and that's obviously very stupid. There's nothing special about this 2-cycle. It's the same type of 2-cycle that's used in lawnmowers, string trimmers, and something called a snowmobile, which is a little bit like the Batmobile in Texas. We don't really know what a snowmobile is. You never really see one, you just hear about them. Now, place for the fluids is, it's kind of common sense. You have 2 caps here for fluids, and the one that you put gas in is the one that will have a little gas can engraved in the plastic. You probably can't see it, but that is the place, and you'll just take the cap, and the little part comes up, turn it, and then from that point on it's rocket science. It gets really hard. And so you do the same thing on the other side here with the bar oil, and you're ready to go. Now after you have maintained the fluid levels to ensure that it will run properly, the next thing to do is to make sure it is safe. According to the U.S. Consumer Producer Safety Commission, in 1999 there were 28,500 accidents involving chainsaw. Obviously that's a lot, and we can prevent accidents first of all by looking at the tightness of the saw. You see how loose it is? When chainsaws are running, the chains get hot and they stretch, and they can fly off the bar and hit you in the face if you don't keep it nice and tight. So I'm going to tighten this one. Now you see these 2 nuts here on the side? We'll have to loosen those. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, in case you were unfamiliar. Now after you've loosened the nuts, there's a screw in there that you stick it in there, and I'll turn it to the right and it'll tighten the chain. So I'll check it, still a little bit too loose, so I'll tighten it some more. Still a little too loose, but we're getting there. Now you don't want it to be so tight that it doesn't move on the bar. That's pretty tight, but there's still a little flex in that, so that's appropriate. You want to make sure and tighten the nuts back so that the chain does not become loose. There you go. Okay, now that the fluids are right and that the chain is right, we'll need to heed some basic safety protocol before engaging the saw. Now, according to the Stihl website with their tutorial video, you should always start a chainsaw from the ground or from some stable surface like a table, because I usually climb trees to cut them for my job. That's not an option that's available to me. A lot of professionals don't start it from the ground, but if you're a beginner, that's what you should do. This string here, put it on a stable foundation on the ground, and this is how you will start it. The second thing that is important to keep in mind is the brake. When you start the saw, sometimes the chain will begin to move. See, it can't move right now because the brake is on. Take it off. Now the chain will move. And so when you start the saw, you'll want to make sure that the brake is forward. And with that, we are ready to have some fun. Now, all my neighbors are surprisingly quiet right now. You see, I don't hear any traffic in the hallway. I don't hear any loud music. I don't hear any hee-hees or ha-has outside my door. All of my loud neighbors are quiet. But this quiet neighbor is quiet no longer. So here we go. That's right. Take that, Mr. Hip-Hop guy upstairs. Take that, Mr. Techno across the way. Even Metallica doesn't play a guitar this heavy. Ooh! I got a little too excited. Just give me a moment. I have made a full recovery. And now, you too can use a chainsaw to safely and effectively get on your neighbor's nerves.